Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. Today I'm going to be trying to neaten up and get my eastern red cedar forest back into some sort of shape. I've done nothing to it all season apart from cleaning it up a little bit when I took it out of its winter hiding place. The landscape is quite knackered, but I'm not going to be messing with it today, except I am going to be taking some of the moss that's growing on the trunks and on this exposed root. I'm going to be taking some of that off just to clean it up a little and kind of assess it. There are some, I don't know what you would call it, some stakes that I have in here holding the trees steady. I'm not going to be taking them out unless I really feel that I can. I had this rock on here last year. When I took it off, the roots still were kind of bouncy. So I put the rock back on and I'm gonna leave it on for the rest of the season. Maybe even into next year to try and get those roots flat onto the rock. They are roots on rock and they are growing out into the soil here. And this landscape does need some work, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it yet. As I've mentioned before, I haven't always been 100% happy with this planting. The trees, the placement of the trees, I had lost a couple, so the placement got a little weird. But I've let all the branches grow, and I'm going to be pruning it back to some sort of shape today. Let's get started. There's quite a bit of moss growing up the side of this tree. And it really does mess with the bark. You know, these eastern red cedars have flaky bark, and it kind of flakes away under the moss. So you really have to be careful, and I have not been as careful as I should be with keeping it clear. You can see here's a piece of bark that came off with the moss. Here too, flaky bark just flakes away. You know, I looked at this tree 100 times during the season and said, oh, I gotta just look it over, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. So I'll just work away at this, and we'll come back when the moss is all cleared away, and we can get started on the pruning. All right, so that's got the moss cleaned away from the base of the trees. If I find any more, I'll pull it away. Some of these trees are starting to get some maturity to them, but mostly not. All right, let's start with this tree right in the front. This branch isn't doing anything for me, so I'm just going to take it right off. There's a dead bit. It's kind of thick. And clean up the scar, flatten it out a bit. All right, it's got all this growth in the middle here that let me just take out. I'll probably be taking more. This is growing long. I'll pull that out. And I don't like this cascading bit. There's a strange piece here that has some awkward growth on it. There's a few branches growing to the center right here that I'm just going to take out. And I'll keep asking myself, what do I want this branch to do? Well, I want it to come over this negative space here, but not quite this long. And this piece toward the back, I'll take out. How tall do I want this? Well, this piece is growing back up toward the tree. If I take this out, that might not be a bad choice. I'm just going to shorten these. This one has a couple of little branches off of it. This one has nothing. Wrong. It does. It has a little branch going forward. So I'll take this piece off. Let me take the end off of that. It's kind of bent over. I'm going to leave it. It's new growth. This one I'll shorten to here. Take this piece off. And I'm going to take this down further to another little branch going forward. All right, I think that has that branch pruned up, although I'm really not liking that piece, but I'm going to leave it for now. So this has an interesting but weird configuration here that you really can't see because of these branches coming out through the middle. So I'll clear those out. These will poke right through your gloves, by the way, so you really have to be careful. And if you don't see them, they're really annoying. They start to hurt after a while. Piece growing up here. So hard to get in there. This piece coming around doesn't look so good. And that piece going up, it's like a little cathedral. Has this weird growth at the tip though. A lot of these trees have that, and I don't understand what it is. It's a wild branch. Let's get this one in check. Take the whole tip off of that. Take the end off of there. Now in terms of overall height and the leader, I think I'm just going to pop it off here. This branch will become my new leader. So I'll shorten everything around it. If I cut this off, I have a branch coming forward that looks kind of good. Take the tip off of this. Take this lower piece off. So that's my leader. All of this is too long. And shorten this to here. And once again, these are not specimen trees. These are basically weeds. They pop up everywhere. And that's where they came from. Just growing in my yard. A little congestion in here. A vertical branch going very close to the trunk. Just causes confusion. And this front branch just got a lot of vigor to it. I think that has this tree pruned up pretty well. Maybe I don't like this vertical piece here. And I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the type of growth that comes on an eastern red cedar. I have the tree because I have the tree. A little bit of vertical growth here that comes off. Probably want to go a little shorter with this front piece. All right, that's got that tree simplified and pruned up. The one next to it, very dense tree. But I can't see the structure at all. So I'm going to start by trimming away the things that are interfering, the branches that are interfering with the tree next to it. You know, and I try to, with every one of my trees, every time I prune it, I try to improve it. And sometimes there's just no improving. You hack away and then you're sorry you took a branch off. Right now, I'm not sorry about anything I've taken off so far. It's a little bitty branch back here that I want to let grow. That one. It's coming out from a nice spot. Okay. So it's a front tree. This one should be a little shorter, which means I've got to take this whole top off. And I will. And make the trunk a little bit more visible. This branch is too close to the one above it. And after this tree, I think you've seen me and my methods for long enough to know what I will be doing. Anyway, what I was saying is I'll go into time lapse for a lot of this forest and we'll come back and take a look at it. But this is going to take a while and there's no point in you watching all this excruciating work that I'm doing. There's some growth that I could let develop right in here if I can get some light in there. And still cleaning up the crotches here. Got to get into the base of these branches. And I got to be real careful because I do want to shorten it, but I don't want to cut anything back, anything off that I'll be shortening to. This is all extending beyond the lip of the pot, which generally doesn't bother me, but I do want to bring everything in. And I'm just staggering the branches a little bit. So if you can see this, got a branch down here, 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 and then the apex of that branch. Shortening these will stimulate growth of the branching further down. I do like working on these though because of the smell. The smell is fantastic. Any cedar. I love this branch, but there's a lot going on here. Segments of it are growing back in toward the tree, which doesn't look so good. Got a branch here struggling to be a leader. I think I'll take it off shorter. Section going down here. Part of this is going down. Parts of this are going back toward the tree. And all this thinning makes a big difference, which you won't realize until I'm completely finished. I'm taking the growth off the top of this branch. Just a lot of things happening here, and not all of it is good. You have to be really careful when you're trying to isolate a branch to trim that you don't get the one next to it. The key to a forest is trying to make it look like the branch selections happen naturally, because trees growing next to one another kind of decide, they fight for the light and they decide on which branch is going to grow with a lot of vigor and which branches are going to be sacrificed. When you're doing this kind of work, you're making those choices for the tree, so you want to be sure that you're not going overboard. Always trying to be selecting branches that you think are going in a good direction and have a future, and pulling ones out that are just wrong on their face. I watched a wonderful video yesterday that I was a part of, actually, from Gavin at Not Another Bonsai channel. He asked the question, what is a bonsai? And it's a very, very personal thing. So there were about 20 guests, I'm the last one, discussing what a bonsai is, basically, to me. And if you're a fan of bonsai, you've seen these people many, many times. And if you haven't, well, you get introduced to them at this video. And a lot of people believe bonsai is not a bonsai until it is finished. I believe that all of this work is bonsai because it's leading to that end of creating a bonsai. These bonsai landscapes are my passion, and this happens to be the first bonsai landscape I ever put together, having been very, very influenced by Nigel Saunders and his forests. So I wasn't going to go out and buy any trees. These are just growing around my yard. So I pulled a bunch out, put them in an under tray, a little terracotta under tray, which I drilled holes in for a couple of years. And then I think 4 or 5 years ago, I put this planting together. As you can see, not all these trees are steady. This one has some roots coming up over the top, and it would lean without this stake. So I think I'm done pruning this tree. I'll probably see more branches like this one as I move along and clear out the tree next to it. I don't like that part of the branch at all. Take it off. I'll go into a little bit faster mode. A minute to look at this tree. It's completely out of place, I think. So I'm making the decision to dig this guy out. I'll do something with it. I'll try and develop it, but it has got some weird growth, and it's not rooted very well. It's not adding anything. It was an afterthought. I thought this spot needed something. Found this guy growing. What a strange little tree. What on earth is going on with this? I'm going to try and clean it up. It's got some roots. They're not super healthy. Bad time of year to pull it out and do something with it, and it might die, but I'm okay with that. All right, back to time lapse. I see some little red ants. I'm certainly not going to want to bring this inside. And they're moving their eggs around. I don't want to bother them, but I am going to spray for whatever they're going for. If that gets rid of them, great. All right, so here is the back of my eastern red cedar forest, the first group planting I ever put together. This rock is sitting on styrofoam. I don't know what's going on under this thing, but concerned about the ants. I don't want to disturb them, but I'm going to. This rock will come off. These roots have to adhere to the rock more. They're still a little up in the air. This rock will do it. Actually, that's much better. I cleared out what I could clear out. It's still a little congested, maybe right in here. I'll take a scissors to it before I put it back on the bench. But it's got a much more mature look. I don't miss the tree I pulled out, but I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do with this forest when I eventually do repot it. This one will be quite easy to repot, I'm sure. All right, I got a cricket there. I don't like that either. But that's it for my eastern red cedar forest. Thank you for keeping me company in my backyard.